I think more about having a solid back end than I do about the funnel now, because that's to me the differentiator that separates the companies that are buying a buttload of traffic from us versus the ones that kind of come and go. It's having more to sell them, more so than the funnels. Because, at the end of the day, funnels is about testing and figuring out what works.
This is The Fighting Entrepreneur, the podcast dedicated to entrepreneurs looking to change the world. Learn how to start, build, and scale a business in today's highly competitive business environment. Here's your host, The Fighting Entrepreneur, Anik Singal.
What's up, you crazy fighting entrepreneurs? This is Anik Singal, and we're back with another episode. And I'm really excited about this one because it's about a topic that I'm in love with, but I also have, recently, let's say we've had a couple breakups, and that is solo ads. But luckily, I've got someone with me today who is a near and dear friend for many years, who I trust a lot, and who is, in my opinion, probably one of the foremost authorities on this topic, solo ads. So let's talk about, are solo ads good for your business? Can they drive great traffic? And really how to best use solo ads to build, sales, leads, and all of that good stuff. Now, before I even start, remember, we're going to go over a lot of content here. So go over to onikpodcast.com. The show notes are there, and you'll be able to get even more details. But without further ado, really help me welcome my good friend and solo ad expert, Mr. Harris Fellman. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I think I told you just ahead of time, I've actually listened to every one of the podcasts. I might be the first one to get knocked out. I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I've used some of the advice for this business, believe it or not, and I've used some of it for another one that I'm starting, not related to any of this. So it's been really good timing, and some of it's a reminder, to me, but at the same time, I've been happily surprised that it's been really good, solid content. As lame as this sounds, it's the only online marketing or business related podcast that I actually do listen to every week. So I listen to other stuff about other things, but somehow you're still in the loop, man.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to me. And I know that when I had first started this, you had also shared, hey, I'm a little burned out on the business podcast. And so to hear that we are at least doing something right here and we continue to improve. So thank you very much for that. And as part of that, that's why I wanted to bring you on to grill you, because I know that it's been years now. I've been watching you grow this amazing solo ad traffic network. And you're so upfront about some of the things we're going to talk about today, which is the dark side of solo ads also, right? And that way we're able to talk about the good side and the bad side. I got to do this, though. A lot of people don't actually know this about you now, but the way I actually met Harris, or the way I think Harris became like a brand in my mind, was a character that he would play. So talk about good marketing. This is years ago. And I don't remember where it came from or why, but that was the first video of you. I knew of you before that, but that video, it was Sal. Can you just tell me a little story about the gangster Sal that you would play out years ago? And then, of course, we're going to ask him to do an impersonation for us.
I was coming out with a product. I saw, what was it? I think it was like a Forex product that I had promoted. I had online internet marketing lists just like you back in the day. And business opportunity seekers make money online. And I marketed to this Forex offer that Agora had. Agora is one of the biggest, I probably mentioned them later, but one of the biggest online publishers that there is. And it said rob banks legally. It was like, this is, using foreign exchange, currency exchange or whatever. And I was like, man, and it did really well for my, business opportunity seeker list. And I was like, man, this $2,000 product did well. I want to come out with my version of it. And my version of it was how to steal sites legally. And then I was like, what can I do a little? And the idea is basically what Russell Brunson currently calls funnel hacking, right? To basically look at a site that is successful and do your version of it. So I basically was doing my version of that, and then like, what can I do different? And I have a comedy acting background, so I was like, who robs banks, but mafia guys. So what it really turned out to be was a great way to communicate with the affiliate marketers. To basically, I was able to say, hey, you guys better freaking promote me, or I'm gonna, and then I just was in my my daughter, this must have been 10 years ago because she's 14 now. I was in my garage looking for stuff. Like, what am I going to pick up? And she had a Dora the Explorer bat. Do you remember seeing any videos with
I
that?
I
So that's
remember
what it
that.
became. It became like, and because I used to do acting, I actually, when I acted, I had not a full head of hair, but just like the horseshoe, that George Costanza type of hair. I actually had a wig that only had that hair for when I went on acting. This was before internet marketing and stuff, that I'd go on acting gigs with, mafia hair. And I had played a character like Sal, but not as over the top as what I did. So I was like, I'll beat you over the head with this Dora the Explorer bat if you don't promote for me. And everybody really, everybody loved it because I was actually able to say, what we really want to say when we talk to affiliate marketers for launches, like, you better promote for me or I'm going to kick your butt. So so that's where it kind of came from.
Oh, I loved it, and it was very, very catchy. And I think what gave it the flair. Now that you're talking about it, I remembered it was the Dora the Explorer bat. It was like, what is he doing? But
Yeah.
everyone promoted, and it worked. So it's a very powerful lesson on great marketing to get
Yeah.
someone's attention. And that's amazing. Well, thank you for telling us that story. We're going to hear a lot more about your story, what you're currently
Hey,
doing,
forget about it. Forget about it.
Oh yeah, forget about it. Forget about it. Oh
All right.
man, good times, good times. So that was just kind of our own little conversation that everyone else got to listen in on. Hey, listen, I want to dive right in, and we're gonna have more time to talk about you and your story and what you're currently doing. But I want to dive in first, and I want to move into round number one. If you're ready to go, you ready to do this?
I am, but I have listened to your podcast. Are you going to let me go by without taking the swear and the oath?
Oh,
I could have lied to everybody going into this.
oh
Now, see,
man,
look
I think
at
you got
that.
a TKO before round number one. He called me out. Dude, Sal just called me out. Yes, of course. I'm so sorry, man. I'm a little rusty right now. Okay, if you could raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Harris Fellman,
I, Harris Fellman,
do solemnly swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth,
do solemnly swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth,
and not beat people over the head with a Dora the Explorer bat.
and absolutely not beat people over the head with the Dora the Explorer bat unless they cross me.
Hey, all right, there we go. That works. Thank you very much. Hey, thanks for reminding me about that. That's a little
Right
embarrassing.
on.
I
Right
can't. You know what? I'm not even gonna edit it out of the podcast. Everyone should know I'm not perfect. I got flaws. All right, I make mistakes. All right, let's move into round number one. All right, so let's just talk about solo ads first, and then in round number two we'll talk about Harris. But what the heck is a solo ad?
on. Well, basically, there's people or companies that own email lists and newsletters. Like, you'll opt into something that you're interested in, maybe a health supplement or weight loss, or how to make money online or something like that, and then you're on an email list. And a solo ad, and I honestly, I with my business from day one, I have tried to distance myself from the term solo ad because it doesn't have a good name in the industry per se, because anybody with a list can say, buy a solo ad from me. So we just say a dedicated broadcast or an email advertisement. So it's basically a type of advertisement where you're the only thing being advertised that day on that email list. So it's solo. You're the only one advertised. I like dedicated email broadcasts a little bit better, but it's the same basic idea, and that's pretty much it. You give them your message, or sometimes the list owner will write it for you because they feel they know what their list is going to respond to the best. You give them your pictures that you're going to put on the email, and of course your link for tracking, and that's it. It's pretty much just like it sounds. It's a solo ad. You're the only person on that email list that
And
day.
do you get to write the subject line and everything? Do you control everything that goes out?
Yeah, honestly, it depends on the market. So with most of them, with most markets, yes. With the business opportunity seeker market, which we do actually tend to service, no. The list owner will write the ad because they're pretty much being paid based on how many visitors that you have, that they send you. So their feeling is, we're going to write it to make sure that we get a good click-through rate. However, sometimes that can go a little wrong because they'll say things that are too we'll kindly say too aggressive. But and if we ever catch anything like that, we call them out on it and we make them resend for our customers, which we don't really run into that too much anymore. But back in the day we did. You've gotten it or you've seen it, I'm sure, where it's like, hey, your paycheck for $1,400 is waiting for you. Sure, that's going to get a lot of people clicking, but it's going to get more people angry than anything. So there is a balance that gets struck, but it's mostly yes to your question, which is most niches you give them your own ad that you're going to send.
Got it. All right. Yeah. I mean, so my story with solo ads, or I like what you said, dedicated email broadcasts is, and I think I kind of alluded to this in the beginning. I said, hey, I've got a bit of a breakup going on, and it's for two reasons. The first reason is just, the way I at least used to do solo ads about 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, it was more very individualistically. I mean, you went after a person, for 1,000 clicks or for 1,500 clicks, and at some point that's not scalable. When you find something like in our business, we're spending hundreds of thousands a month right now with, Google ads, YouTube, and Facebook. And it's like, wow, I could get thousands of clicks a day. I don't have to talk to anybody. But the other thing is there was a point in time when I really I felt like it was getting too spammy, really, it wasn't working well. And I was starting to question the quality of leads I was getting. And so that was kind of the double prong reason. Are you finding in the new day, and I'll call it like the dedicated email broadcast era, what kind of scalability are you finding, especially for someone like me? Because again, this podcast, I'm always asking questions because I'm trying to figure out what we want to do here at Lurn. And that's, like what kind of scalability are you finding right now, with the good stuff, just excluding the bad stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have some customers that order 40, 50,000 visitors a month from us, which is, as sounds like a similar amount of volume that you might be getting from Facebook in this type of space. We have another that just ordered 100,000 visitors again, but for you specifically, I feel that there is less volume for. So those are more on the make money online side of the arena versus the so they're what would I say, they're down in their learning. They're not as far along their learning curve. The people that they're marketing to are not down as far up the learning curve as much as where you want them to be, probably.
They're more noobs.
They're more noobs. So there's 100,000 noobs. Out of those 100,000 noobs, are there 10,000 people that are good for you. So that's where I think it begins to get challenging for somebody that's more of a really teaching. But that you can run into that with all sorts of industries.
Yeah.
Is if you're further down. But so what you would have to do is have an offer that bridges that gap. I don't know your offers. So you might have an offer that bridges that gap, for all I know. That's more of a front end offer that gets them to know Anik and Lurn. Like, I mean, for instance, like, I don't know if I mentioned him already, but you and I both know Russell with ClickFunnels. He has some stuff, some offers that is working with some of our lists. It's not 100,000 a month scalable, but he orders his company, rather, he doesn't call us, but his company orders from us every week. I mean, if you're having success with Facebook and YouTube, there's no reason not to add on whatever the right scalability is. If it's only 1,000 visitors a week, then it's not going to be worth your time. But I'm sure there's 5,000 to 10,000 visitors a week that are going to convert an ROI that works for you.
Oh, that's awesome. Actually, very good answer. And I'm kind of drawing all these links here because I have future rounds. We're going to really dive into stuff like, what does a funnel look like? What's a good offer? And all of that. Quick question. So we hired a copywriter a year ago into Lurn. He came from a company similar to Agora, but basically very similar. It's a financial newsletter type of company. And he came in during the interview, he was using this term a lot. And finally I had to stop him and say, man, I'm a copywriter, but I don't know this term. He says space ads. space ads. He'd say, oh, I write a lot of space ads. And so space ads are basically like little ads, like little classified ads really inside of an email. Do you do any of that? Like, or do you only deal with dedicated?
We only deal with dedicated. We've played with it here and there.
Okay.
One of my, I don't know if it's, what's the term for a competitor that you don't really feel like a cooperator? I mean, there's somebody there. So you probably know the Litmans with dedicated. Yeah. They have some of that. They do a lot of survival. Not as much, you mentioned financial, but they do a lot of survival traffic, like the doomsday preppers, and they do have lists that they break up like that. And I think Newsmax and Archamax, some of the big publishers, they do stuff like that. We don't mess with it. We just want a simple, we pretty much, we test stuff.
Yeah.
But it really just comes down to, ROI, and those sorts of things might they can get a good ROI. It's just the list that we deal with don't do that we deal with. But it's not, I never heard it called a space ad. I
was at an event with Agora just a few weeks ago, and I confirmed like that's a very commonly used term there. So I said, okay, interesting.
Like I said, I'm probably a year out from where they started using that term, and we don't do it. Yeah.
Sure. All right, well, awesome. Listen, let's move right into round number 2. I want to talk a little bit about how the heck, because this is the actual question I have, how the heck you got into this world. So round number 2, Harris, how are you, solo ads? Like from what I don't know how all of a sudden you opened a solo ad network, or let's call it dedicated email. What do you call it? Dedicated email broadcast network, trafficforme.com. How did you get here? What led you here?
Yeah, it's interesting too. It's one of the things that, that I've got my 10,000 hours in. I've been doing it for 1998, so 20 something years. Me and some partners started an email deployment company. This is before there was any laws about emailing, and, we got up to where we were doing, I don't know, 500 million emails a month or something like that we were sending out. And, we had some really good success with that and learned a lot. And I think I got away from it for a while for whatever reason. But I got into the info marketing space. I think I enjoyed that more, kind of like you, where you like to, teach people how to do, make money online or succeed online. And I never left, obviously you always have an email list, you never leave that. But I got away from deployment and owning my own. And then, I don't know, like 7 years later, I was helping, I was doing cross promos or swaps are. So this is like a common thing in the info product space where, hey, I've got a list of 10,000 people. You have a list of 10,000 people. Well, you mail for me, I'll mail for you. And I was helping facilitate that as a JV manager or whatever. And then one of the guys said to me, this was in like 2012, one of the guys said to me, well, hey, can I just pay for a mailing? Like, can we just forget this whole like swap thing? Cause I don't really want to promote that other guy's thing. And I was like, yeah, let me ask. And we did a mailing and it did well. And he's like, well, what else you got? And I'm like, I don't know, let me see. And I asked another one and asked another one. And, next thing you know, with this one client, I had mailed to, 8 different lists successfully for them. And I'm like, well, I've got these 8 lists that are willing to take money instead of doing this JV swap thing. Let me hit my network. I had probably 300 list offer owners that I knew on a little mini list that I had, and I hit them up. I was like, does anybody want to buy a mailing? And, so anyway, that's how it started really. About 2012, I switched from doing, from being JV manager, doing swaps for people into, having them, I like it as a business model, because when I was in between these swaps, I would get paid only if it succeeded. And I had nothing to do with it, whether it succeeded or not. I only have to do with, they did what I said they would do. And then, so sometimes you work your ass off. I'm sure you've done it. You've had a launch where you work your ass off and you don't make as much money as you thought. So imagine like if I'm a JV manager in between that stuff. So, and then, yeah, I just like the clean business model of this is, here's a service, pay me. And, and then over time I've spent a couple $100,000 building a platform.
Here's what I love about your story is that it's a true example of organic demand creating a business, and not you sitting in business planning and all of that, but you actually, were just in the mix of things, and someone said, hey, can you do this? You said, sure. And then all of a sudden you start asking other people and everyone wants it. And you go, wow, all right, let's now do this. That's pretty amazing. Great story. I've seen your network. And honestly, today's whole discussion is meant to be because I want to plan out how I can deploy and use your services to get more members here at Lurn Nation. But I do want to move into round number 3, where I have a very direct question, and I think you are probably, of all people I know, the best person to answer it. So round number 3, okay, let's talk about the pink elephant in the room when it comes to the original word or the original term solo ads, and that is quality. All right, you said it yourself. Solo ads have gotten a bad rap to the degree that, honestly, we shut down our network. We had one, and we shut it down because just trying to police the quality was becoming such a pain. And it was really, for us, not making us any money. It was a service ad for our students. But we started to realize at some point it turned into not being a service ad for them. And it was just too much headache, and there was fraud, and there was just nonsense. And I want to deal with it. So I left the world of solo ads. I've actually edited a lot of our training for students and added a lot of warnings in there and said, okay, it's still good. I used it to build my first list, but beware, beware, beware. Can you talk to me about what's happening in the world of solo ads and what should someone be looking out for? New people starting right now that want to dip into it.
A few years ago, we created a ethical bribe called the Safe Traffic Checklist to basically give people a way of trying to protect themselves. So, first of all, like you mentioned that there's marketplaces out there. I originally started Traffic for Me thinking that it was going to be a marketplace, a hands-off marketplace. And we're not hands-off. In our case, I have somebody that runs it, but most importantly, he runs the the relationships with the publishers. And by publisher, I mean the list owners. We don't have some, crazy algorithm like Facebook or anything like that. I won't pretend that we do, but we have a human and a couple of customer service people that are in between it. And the problem is that even lists with the best intentions can go bad. So somebody that's we have somebody that I'm thinking of that we've dealt with for at least 5, maybe 6 years. And I would say, more than 4 of the 5 years, his list has been really good, but sometimes something happens. It's a tricky business. We make it look super simple. And, but as the podcast with Jimmy Kim, if you want to hear how tricky it is to get emails out, it's your podcast with Jimmy.
Yeah, no.
It's tough. So imagine that times 12 or 15 different publishers. So the things for people to look out for is you mentioned bots. So you do want to have your own tracking to make sure you at least there's nothing anybody can do about actually getting bots. You can just block them. And because even again, the lists, our cleanest lists still will have 1% to 2% bot traffic, and it's not because the list owner is consciously doing it. It's because they anti-spammers or have their own bots that opt into things and opt into other things. And if you don't do what Jimmy said, basically, and keep your list purging and cleaned on the regular basis, then it'll get worse. So that's part of why it's so important. But anyway, so you want to make sure you have some good tracking to make sure you're not getting an overabundance of bots. You want to make sure you want to communicate with whoever it is that you're buying the traffic from and feel good about that person and that they stand behind their traffic. Those are some things to do to protect yourself. And, test a list. Don't test the maximum. Test the smallest amount that they'll let you test of that particular list, or at least that makes sense for your offer. And we can get into that a little bit later. But that's what I recommend is just know, like, if you go on a marketplace, or if you go on Google and find a solo ad provider, buyer beware. I mean, I don't care what their testimonials say. I don't care. Like, I mean, I'll see some people that I got a 70% opt-in rate. I'm like, red flag right there. Like, that's not, like, you're telling me that 3 out of 4 people that clicked on something opted into it, and you don't think that might be a bot that's gone a little bit too crazy, So just because you get great on the front end opt-in rate doesn't mean it's not a bot. So yeah.
So a couple of things I'm taking away. One is it's come up a lot. It's like that human oversight, right? But the other thing I guess I'm just going to bluntly ask is, so there is still good out there. There's still a lot of great quality, traffic from email lists that are being bought, to the degree that Lurn probably should not give up on it. Would that be an accurate statement for everyone listening?
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah, I think for sure, Lurn shouldn't give up on it. I think you should, give it a couple swings at the bat, or a couple punches from the fighting entrepreneur. Yeah, I mean, look, a good example is Agora Publishing. They continue to that's part of their strategy. Do they crush it on Facebook? Do they crush it on YouTube? Yeah. But they have more budget than anybody for dedicated broadcasts, and they have, like, I don't know if you know how they're structured, but for your listeners' sake, they've got like 4 or 5 or 6 like mini businesses that are autonomous, but they still talk to each other, and they all have they all have different offers, but sometimes in the same niche, and they're all saying, oh, where are you getting your email broadcast from, and where are you getting, so if they wouldn't be doing it if they weren't able to get a positive ROI out of it in the long run.
That is the one.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the one thing that's kept me interested. I know a lot of people at Agora, and by the way, I'm still trying to figure out how the heck Agora runs, and it's not even 4 or 5. I think it's even more companies. But yeah, I mean, one of them, for one of the divisions, said their budget per month is $100,000 a month on dedicated email broadcast.
That's right.
And I thought, well, that's a sizable budget. And so what do they know that I don't know? So that brought us to here.
Right. Well, that's got multiple offers. That's not going to be just with, I could guarantee you that won't be with just one offer. They probably got 5 or 6 solid offers, and then they've got 5 or 6 that they're always testing. But look, Russell, using someone else that we both know with ClickFunnels, he felt the same way as you did, for sure. He's somebody who I've known for a really long time. He knows me and trusts me. And he's like, I don't like solo ads. I don't trust them. I'm like, cool. I mean, that's totally fine. He's referred people to me for it depends a lot on the market. It gets really messy in your market, Anik. It really does, because that's where, and I'm talking about the internet marketing side.
So let's do this real quick. Let's do this, Harris, because round number 4 is all about niches, markets, and industries. And so let's move into that, because I actually have a lot of questions related to that. So round number 4. Okay, now, let's go right in. We were going to even take a break and screw it, because we're in the middle of it. Talk to me about what markets. Got a lot of people listening right now wondering, does this exist in my market? So just basically keep doing what you were doing. Keep talking.
Okay, cool. So, well, first of all, to answer the question that everybody's thinking is, does this exist in my market? Well, are you on a list in your market? Are you on an email list in your market? If so, then yes, it exists in your market. Now, you can communicate with that person directly. You don't need a go-between. That's probably the best, way to get, but you're not going to be able to scale that way. But somebody listening in on the call, if they're in a market that I'm not about to mention, and they're on a list in their market, then they know something I don't. And that person probably has 5, 10, 20,000 people on their list. And you can contact them and say, hey, can I pay you $250 to market to your whole list? And if they like your offer, they might do it. Like, that's really how organically all this gets started anyway. That's all this is just this growing into another scale. So the markets that I know of that are serviced by either solo ads or email broadcasts are health. So whether it's a health info product or health supplements, that's one of the strongest markets. Survival, I think I mentioned that earlier, which is like the doomsday preppers. That's a big market for dedicated broadcasts. Internet marketing is actually not as big as as we mentioned, the BizOp and the MMO, the make money online type of space. Financial, I think you mentioned you had a copywriter with the Forex that came from financial. So there's a bunch of solo ad traffic for Forex as well, and crypto when that was doing well. Although that's really crossover with the business opportunity seeker. When crypto was doing well, it was really about how to make money with crypto instead of how to make money online. What else? What other markets? From the site that you just dropped, I guess, from your old site, personal development can be good. I find one of the things that personal development's a really good example of why it doesn't work most of the time, and it's because the people that are a lot of the offers that I see in personal development, they don't have back end. They have an opt-in, get this free book, and then they're kind of hoping to make money on affiliate marketing with a list or something like that. And the big differentiator, the big differentiator with all of this is back end. The Agoras of the world, they come to us and they say, we need to make depending on the offer, we need to make a 50 to 80% ROI. Now, for anyone paying attention, that's less than 100%.
Yeah.
They're saying we need to only lose 20 to 50% because we know that once somebody's bought something from us, we're going to make our money back over, a month or 2 months or whatever it is. Health is another one that they're able to say that because they have a solid back end. If you're buying a health supplement, there's a darn good chance that you're going to buy it again next month as long as the product is good.
So we're definitely going to talk about funnels. That's round number 6. I know that you and I had a very good conversation about this almost 2 years ago, and you expressed very specific funnels in my space, right? And so let's talk real quick. You've mentioned Russell Brunson. You've mentioned IM. One of the biggest things happening with Lurn right now is we are exiting MMO. So just to be clear for everyone watching, we have no problem with business opportunity. We love it because I think it brings a world of opportunity to people who want to start a business. So we will still be teaching email marketing, affiliate marketing, Amazon marketing, Shopify. We have more of amazing courses like that coming. We just won't be selling it like MMO. And what we're really all about right now at Lurn is getting and growing our Lurn Nation platform, getting more and more members. We have 250,000 in there at the time I'm filming this, and we want to go to 1 million. We want to go to 2 million, but we want these to be serious people. We want them to be, we talked about it earlier, like there's like the noob, which is someone who's just completely exploring, like I want to make money. That's all they know. And usually they get drawn into those MMO offers. And by the way, if you're wondering what MMO, it's make money online, short for that. I want to find someone that's gone one level deeper and maybe they don't know how to do Facebook ads, but they at least understand that there is such a realm and they're open to the idea of doing Facebook ads and they're not just freebie shoppers. So my question to you is that I guess is what you would call the IM crowd, even though over time we want to move out of the IM crowd also. We want to go, we want to start addressing entrepreneurs. But right now, that's probably where we're living. We're living and really monetizing on that IM crowd. So let's say I came to you tomorrow and I said, carte blanche, here we go. Full open budget. You know the kind of person I'm trying to get. I want them in my platform. I want them to be active. What do you think we could do? Like what kind of scale would there be in your opinion?
Well, okay. So I want to say a couple things first. If you're looking for somebody that is more experienced or less noob, whatever you want to call it, you're going to pay more for that. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I know, and I believe me, I of all people understand, some of the motivation behind not wanting to. I think that you are going to be one of the best at taking somebody that that is in that affiliate marketing and Amazon marketing mindset or Amazon e-commerce mindset, and converting them into the mindset that you're looking for. I think I'm just thinking that it's going to, because otherwise you're relying on somebody else that's done it. So if you've got, like we'll just use the number 1 million, if there's a million people that are, at that noob stage, they've got to move into the more experienced stage one way or another. And you're going to pay for that. You're going to pay a little bit more for that, or a lot more for that, versus, taking them, making money as you go, being honest with them and open and what have you. So I guess that's one thing I'll say. So the bottom line is I don't know the answer to your question. There's a whole lot less people that are more experienced than not, and
so my guess is
especially with email lists.
So yeah, I was gonna say my guess, for example, use Russell Brunson as an example. I mean, I'm probably going after a very, very similar demographic. If I came to you and had a 10,000 clicks a month, would you gawk at that, or you'd say, oh, we could handle that? At what point would you say, wow, that's a lot? Cost is our next round. We're gonna talk about cost, but right now I'm just looking for me to understand going into it. Because I go backwards. I think, okay, 25 to 30% of my traffic will become a member. So, okay, if I can buy 20,000 clicks, then I feel like, okay, that's at least 6,000 members per month from this source of traffic.
Yeah, knowing what I know, that's I think 10,000 clicks a month is a very fair goal. It could end up being more than that. It could end up being less. And the reason that I'm saying it could be is because the right way to do business is to test lists. Yeah. And scale on the ones that are.
Then imagine I take one of my offers, like my book, right? Circle of Profit, which has done so well. It does sit in that place of between MMO and what we call clean IM, because it truly does help people who are really exploring the idea of starting a business, and it walks them into the appropriate place to be. So if I said, hey, I'm going to dip into the MMO traffic, but I'm going to put them into a clean offer. Is it 50,000 clicks a month then it expands to, or 100,000 clicks a month? What's the ballpark there?
I mean, 100,000 easily.
Okay.
I mean, right. Look, like if you should be able to get, if you have if the numbers make sense, right? So if you're paying me whatever it is, I'll just use a quick number, $50,000 for 100,000 clicks, and that 50,000 gets you 100,000 over the course of the amount of time that you want it to, and that makes sense for you. And don't forget, when people come to your page, you're pixeling them. So, I mean, it's not like, it's not like a one and done type of thing. You're now getting them into your wider net of being able to retarget to them and things like that as well. Because you already know these things. Now, some of our clients they don't think that way. I mean, the guy that's buying 100,000 clicks, he's like, hey, the one that's, can you wait a minute? Because I need to get my pixels ready. There's no way that you're not going to do that. So, but anyway, so there's other, but even just looking at the straight money, I spent 50,000. When do I get my 50,000 back? And, and as long as those numbers match, then we'll go out. And if you're like, hey, dude, I need more, there's more. I'm just talking about, like, I know what I don't need to go to the bench for. I don't need to go to the bench for 100,000.
Got it. So listen, it's getting hot in here now, because we're starting to get to the questions that are making me get excited. So I want to move into, well, actually, I'm not done with it. Oh, no, I am done with it. All right, I want to move into the next round that I'm most excited about, just to kind of whet your appetite, is cost. We're going to talk about how much it costs. He threw some numbers out. I want to see if those numbers are real or if he's just talking out of his butt. So we're going to get some numbers out there, some test budgets, and really try to figure out and start to build Lurn's strategy. We're going to build Lurn's strategy here live on this podcast. All right, round number 5, time to talk about costs. Okay, so I want to talk about costs in scale. I want to talk about costs in test. So let's just talk to me about costs. You threw a number out there. You said earlier, you said $50,000, 100,000 clicks. Is that numbers that you is that real numbers, or you were just throwing an example out there?
For the market that you were talking about.
Okay, so about 50 cents a click. Is that what? Yeah, 50 cents a click.
So let's see. Again, it depends on which niche you're in, right? So health, you're going to get about 1,000 visitors for $1,500. So it's going to be about $1.50 per visitor. Whereas it goes down with volume, but and then if you go to personal development, that's more like 1,200, so like $1.20 per visitor. And I'm way averaging, right? And then 1,000 visitors with again, we said BizOp, right, which was the kind of the MMO BizOp, the book that you were talking about. That's going to be $650 or so for 1,000 visitors. But yeah, on volume, it's going to go down. 50 cents is a good, safe place for me to publicly talk about. But when you start getting into things, when you get to large orders like that, you have to start finding out how you're paying me. If you're paying me with American Express, well, somebody's got to pay American Express that 3%. That comes out of my margin, blah blah blah. But if you're like, hey, I'll transfer that money to you directly to your bank, then you can shave the 50 cents down a little bit more. But again, 50 cents is a really good rule of thumb for anything over 20,000 visitors. We can probably hit that. And for you, Anik, we're going to get the best prices that we can.
Yes. On the record, officially here at the Fighting Entrepreneur, the best pricing. All you other MMO people and IM people that are now going to run to Harris after listening to this podcast, go away. Stop taking it. All right. No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. That's so helpful. Like, think about those numbers. And that was my next question was going to be, you've been quoting per click, but I know that when you go, I always say there's the world that we play in, and then I know people that go out and they buy these huge drops with these big companies that have got like multi-million email lists, and they don't do per click. They do per send or per CPM. Or talk to me a little bit about how people charge for dedicated email broadcasts, not just with you, but just generally. What should our listeners know when they get out into this world?
Sure. So you use the term CPM. That means cost per thousand. M, I guess, is Latin for thousand or something. So that's cost per thousand emails sent. So they're pretty much saying, we don't know, we're not going to guarantee you any sort of click-through rate or open rate. I mean, obviously it needs to do well, or you're not going to come back. But so it'll be something like, so when I quoted you earlier, health, when I said it's 1,500 for 1,000 visitors. Well, the truth is that it's 1,500 for an email drop of about 100,000. And I know that's going to get about 1,000 visitors in the end. And then what we do, something that we've innovated is, I got tired of being in between those conversations of well, it didn't do well for me, or, well, the offer wasn't good. I'm like, look, publisher, look at the offer before you send it, because I'm going to hold you to, I'm going to hold you to some sort of click standard. I'm going to say, even though, we're paying you for a drop, I need you to guarantee at least, 1,000 visitors or 800 or whatever it is, so that, I can go back to my advertiser and because I don't have any, again, going back to how I got started, right? Which is, I didn't like things out of my control. I didn't like, my business model being out of my control. So I want to at least be able to say, this is what we provide. So we work with publishers that we're able to get, I call it a hybrid between CPC and CPM, but ultimately, some of the markets, they're like survival. It's very much CPM only because they can get away with it. And I think everybody eventually goes towards a CPC model, because I guess I personally think that's where the balance is properly struck, versus, it's not super fair for the publisher. If I send you 1,000 visitors and it doesn't convert, well, that wasn't my fault. You know what I mean? Like, so if I wanted to do affiliate marketing, I would do affiliate marketing as a publisher. I can do that all day long. So for us, that's where we feel that it's the fair spot.
So here's the interesting thing. I always teach this when we do advertising. So if you're listening, note this: all advertising, Facebook, Google, YouTube, I don't care. It's actually CPM driven. Although you see per click cost, right? You think Facebook's charging you per click or YouTube's charging you per click. Guys, they are functioning off of CPM. So what they care about is CPM, because all they can control is how many impressions are being created, right? They can control how many page loads are happening. Now they're backtracking that information and just going ahead and showing you what that reflected as a cost per click for you. Doesn't mean they're charging you that way. Your cost per click is being determined by your CPM. And so it's really important to track that. So I did some quick math here, Harris, and basically you said in the health space, $1,500 for 100,000 send. You think you always estimate that'll be about 1,000 clicks. It came out to $15 CPM. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
1.5?
Yeah.
And so basically that measure, if you're doing MMO or BizOp, we talked about how that will go down. That could be a third, depending, because the cost per click was down by a third.
And MMO doesn't do CPM. They only speak in terms. They only and most of personal development speaks in terms of CPC now. I've noticed. So some of the markets, what I've observed is that IM and BizOp tend to lead the trend, and then personal development's not too far behind, and then others start kind of piling on whatever the marketing trend might be, whether it's funnels or what have you.
When we started Clickonomy way back a few years ago, I mean, that was a big, because back then also CPM was still ruling. Everyone wanted cost per send. And for us to serve our students, we thought, man, our new students don't understand what that means. They don't understand the data. They don't have the math. And so we forced anyone who published with us or to sell through our marketplace, they had to get to CPC. And that really helped. It did help. All right. So,
well, I was going to say too, on the other side of that, you mentioned what the publishers care about, the Facebooks or the publishers. They only care about what they can control, but also the advertiser, ultimately what you should care about is what your ROI is, whatever metric whatever your key metric is, right? So if it's how much am I paying per opt-in, per lead, or how much am I, what is my ROI for the send? Those are the things that an advertiser cares about. But CPC makes, again, it's that nice spot in the middle that you could say, okay, if I'm paying $1,500 for 1,000 clicks, I can do the math on, I need this conversion rate to get this. And I think that's possible,
That's awesome. All right. Well, this has been very, very insightful. Last question in the round number 5 is, what's a good test budget for someone that they're not a Russell or a Lurn, that can come in and swing pretty hard with a big budget, but they're starting their company right now. They got something going on. They're not completely fresh, and they want to try solo ads. They're listening right now. They're getting excited. What do you think is a good number? Is it number of clicks that you should really do before you judge something? Is it dollar amount? How do you advise someone?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the same thing. It depends. So first of all, it depends on their budget. We don't want anybody not paying the rent because they're, we also don't push people for like a $5,000 minimum or anything like that. We have, it's a self-service system for buying. So we have a 500 click campaign. That's, typically a really good place to start for most people. And again, you can back out and see what those are depending on what your market was. But we also have a starter package of 200 clicks. We don't want to go below that. We find that people that go below that, they tend to charge back more frequently. They really don't know what they're doing. So they blame the source. And 200 clicks, we at least can communicate with the people that came up with $150 or whatever it is. So if the real answer is, it depends on what you're measuring. If you're a health list and you're doing a front end sale, which a lot of them do, and the price point is $100 to $200, then doing a $200 test isn't going to tell you squat, because it's totally binary. It's like, if I got one sale, then I did okay. If I got 2 sales, I broke even. If I got 3 sales, wow. I mean, it's like, but so I typically, depending on your price point. So if your front end is a, $100 price point, then I think you should do, a $400 or $500 test. So it gives you enough data for that list to figure out what, if it works for you. If your metric is leads, you can do 200, you could do 50 and find out, although 50 doesn't tell you anything, but 200, that's why 200 is our minimum also, is 200 tells you something. You can get some numbers based on that. You're going to get between, 70 to 100, opt-ins out of 200 clicks, and you could see how they, you can see how they react. Whereas with anything less than that, you're just, you know, you're not going to be able to figure anything out.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, I'm eager to get into round number 6, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. This is going to probably be my favorite round of our interview today. Round number 6. Let's talk about funnels. Okay. This is the part. I'm like jumping up and down because I feel like this is where you're going to bring so much knowledge to the table here's what I've got. I've got this amazing opportunity. I've got this amazing team. And that means I can build anything. I can build any funnel. We've got so many products. We've got great copywriters. We know how to do ad buying. We can do funnels. We've got a lot of funnels. Give me a funnel. Like if you were me right now and you needed to design a funnel for this space and to be able to do dedicated email buying, what would you do?
Well, you know, I think I alluded to it a little bit before, and that was the idea that I think you and your company is going to be the best at taking somebody from beginner to the point that, you know, you want them to be. So whatever you have on the shelf, you mentioned the book, I would start there. And is it free, or is it a free plus? Is it a physical book?
We are trying different things. I'm getting really fed up of the shipping business. So now we're moving more towards the, $1.99 audio book or $1.99 digital book. I want to charge for it, but I don't want to ship it. So I'm trying to come up with the right offer.
Yeah. So, I think that's the right way to go. I mean, as long as your copywriters are good enough to sell, you know, buying a downloaded book.
Well, let's talk about the free. You mentioned free. So let's say it was completely free. It was a download. What would that funnel look like? Or is there a possibility there or no?
Yeah. So that funnel is, you're going to get, you know, like I said, a 35 to 40% opt-in rate on a good ethical bribe like that. And then you can sell them something. What does digital marketing call it? A tripwire. You know, you just rip something from one of your, you know, most popular products that's going to be attractive to the most people. I test a few of those in the $9.99 to $29.99 range, and see how much of your ad drop you make back on that. And then there should be an upsell from there. And so that's all front end, right? And then
is that a VSL, or is, because the price point's not that high, is it a point blank sales page? It could still have a video at the top, but it's pretty, like, you could read it and just click and buy? Or are you putting them through a guided 20-minute, VSL that they can't do anything until the end?
You got to test it. I mean, yes, it all works. It all can work. You've bragged about how good of a copywriter you are. And if that's where your strength is, and that means, you know, text on a page, then go for it. It can work. Now, you know, people's attention span isn't super long. I'll tell you what doesn't work: webinars. People will crush it with Facebook ads somehow sending people to a webinar, and then they'll come to email and think that they're going to do the same or half as good. And it's like, I mean, we've had 2 webinars do well in 7 years. And now, granted, you know, we started telling people don't even, but even that was, one of them was after we said don't even try it. But we typically tell people, if it's a webinar, we don't recommend it. And I think it's a disconnect between the live nature of, like, most people are reading their emails on a phone. I hate to break it to you. So, you know, the instant gratification of reading an email, clicking on it, getting the thing that I want, and then signing up for a live thing later. I just think there ends up being this disconnect. So I know that doesn't work, but as far as I've been shocked to see those 20-minute VSLs work in our market. My gut would be, nah, don't mess with it. But I'm wrong. My gut has been wrong. Good quality VSLs convert. Yeah.
So here is a funnel that I've been designing. I've done very well with this through affiliates, through Facebook, through all the other channels. By the way, can I just back up real quick? So the webinars, yeah, it doesn't work. Harris told us don't do it. This is about 2.5 years ago. We did it. And I thought the same damn logic you just mentioned. I said, man, if it does even half as well as it does on Facebook, we'll be fine. And guess what? It didn't do nearly half as well. It didn't even do like 15%. It was a friggin' miserable failure. And I'm still bitter about it because everyone said don't do it. And my dumb butt thought I'm smarter than everyone and tried anyway. So
yeah, but don't we have to test things? I mean, we have to trust our gut and test it once in a while, and
Yeah. So
it doesn't make sense until you get that punch in the face, right?
Absolutely. All right, so here's a funnel we are designing. As much as I said, I'm not a big fan of, shipping books. I got 20,000 in a warehouse that need to go somewhere. So we're still going to go, and that's a tested page. I've done really well with it across the board. On Facebook ads, it would do 6-7% conversion. On affiliates, it would do anywhere from 4 to 10% conversion. So it's front end, free plus shipping and handling, $7.97, goes to a bump offer, which is on the order page, and goes to upsell. And then eventually those leads have an opportunity to book a consultation or a strategy session with us for one of our workshops. So they end up, and then there's webinars behind it. So once you've become a customer, there's like kind of workshops and things you can get into. But I'm going to not even include all of that because it just gets messy. So it's just like, this is the book funnel. Happy to lose, believe it or not. I'm happy to do the whole 50 to 80% recovery because I know that once they get through our workshop and get on this phone with our advisors, that's fine. If I am out, just give me a gut feeling of like percent conversion on the page. If I said, hey, I'm going to get a 3% conversion from dedicated email broadcast to MMO, would you be like, yeah, you're crazy. That's not going to happen on the front end, on the free plus shipping and handling?
I don't think that's crazy. What was the price point?
$7.97.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little on the high side. I mean, something you have to remember is that, email traffic is cold traffic, and it's colder than Facebook traffic for whatever reason. I don't pretend to know why, and I think it's to do. I used to have this kind of analogy where, the whole idea of cold and hot is the idea that this is somebody. Let's say somebody's warm to you, to Anik Singal, and when you promote someone else, some of that warmth. Now, if they're super hot on Anik Singal, this is starting to sound like a little different podcast, but if they really trust you and what have you, then when you recommend something, some of the warmth is going to translate. But no matter what, it's not the equal level. It's not you saying, "Hey, buy this thing from me that I created." It's, "Hey, buy this thing from Harris that I think might do really well for you." So if they were a level 10 Anik lover, they're going to transfer over to a 7. Most email lists, there ain't no level 10, whoever owns that list lover. They're 6s or 7s to begin with. And then, in this space, and we're talking about MMO BizOp, those people are getting hit every day by every list they're on. So how often does somebody that you like, have to tell you they like you too for you to start saying there's something a little bit off about that, so there's less heat to transfer. So it's your job now to pick up that relatively cold. And so if you want to immediately say, you don't know me. It's cool that that you're in the right market. I know you're in the right market. You came here. This is what I have to offer. And if you'd like my book, it's, I'll give it to you for free, but you got to pay me a couple bucks for shipping. That's a lot harder than let me give you this thing for free. It's a lot harder. What I would love to test would be give it to them for free as a download and make the upsell. Hey, you know what? We'll ship it to you too for $2. But you've already got it. But if you want the physical of it, or like even have the old Wall Street Journal offer, right, where it's you can get the online version, or you can get the physical version for this much or this much, or it's the same price to get both. You could do something along those lines. So it's, it's got to be straightforward, but.
Well, I just ran some math real quick. So the reason I said 3% was, here was the logic I was using, so you can confirm or not. My logic is that I was getting about 6% on Facebook conversion. So I thought, all right, I'm going to drop that by half. And so I thought, is it possible to do 3%? Is that fair logic, or it could be even less than half of Facebook?
It could be less than half of Facebook.
Okay. So then what I did now is I said, well, what am I willing to pay? So for every physical book we sell, we have a rule in the company, depends on which book, but the one currently that I'm thinking about, we're willing to pay about $35 CPA for that book to go out the door.
Okay.
And that backs out to about a 1.3% conversion on that traffic.
And that's the right way to look at it, is what are we willing to pay? And is this a realistic? And so for sure, I'm telling you, if you have a home run, yeah, you can hit 3%. But then cut that in half, and now we're 1.5%, and we're at a space that you're comfortable with. Then it's, definitely.
Got it. I got a funnel coming up. Okay, Harris, tell me. I kind of guided that conversation, and I feel like I cut you off at the knees because I was being very selfish with the funnel I want to do. What are some of the best funnels that you've promoted? You don't have to tell me who they are, or you can. But what are some of the best funnels that you've done? Walk me through a couple of examples.
Well, okay. So first of all, we don't create the funnel, so I don't necessarily.
Course, yeah.
I don't necessarily get to go too deep on them sometimes. I know what works is in different markets. And again, what we just described for BizUp works really well, which is, free, really, free on the front, and then some sort of tripwire, and then an upsell or a bump or what have you. And then you're in your net. What works for health tends to be, they do a VSL. I mean, if we're talking about the actual medium, I'd say 90% of the successful are right away. They don't even bother with the opt-in. They go straight to a VSL, and they're at a $70 to $150 price point on that, and they're looking to make 50 to 80% because they're going to get some repeat. Well, it's not just the repeat business, right? Guess what? We have other supplements that we can sell you too. So once they're in the net, they have other things that they can sell. It's funny. I think more about having a solid back end than I do about the funnel now, because that's to me the differentiator that separates the people that are the companies that are buying a buttload of traffic from us versus the ones that kind of come and go. It's having more to sell them, more so than the funnels. Because at the end of the day, funnels is about testing and figuring out what works.
Would you agree with this? I've said the best a funnel can do, if you're talking about media buying and traffic buying, this is what I've been teaching lately. I have to say the best a funnel can do for you is help you break even. That's the best a funnel can do. It's the back end that you're going to actually go and make money. And that's because competition is rising prices up, and you got Agoras out there and all these people who are willing to bleed money on the funnel. They're willing to go 50, 80%. And so you got to compete with them.
Yeah. Well, the truth is, whether we knew it or not, it's always been that way. It's always been the best you can hope to do is break even. But we used to, we used to get lucky and not have to do that. And quite frankly, the toughest clients for me to deal with are the ones that have been super successful with only affiliate marketing. They cannot get their head around this, Anik. And you
I was one of them.
Yeah, no, you and I both are. It's really, really hard to get your head around, because it's like, oh, well, I only pay 50% of my, I'm like, well, okay, but then you're not going to be able to scale here. You're not going to get a 200% ROI on every email drop that you do with us. It's a different sort of challenge, but yeah, go ahead.
So before we go on to that, I wanted to just go back real quick to funnels, because I'm actually just personally curious. We talked about the MMO side. We talked about the health side. What about the financial side? Because I know that email traffic is big in the financial space. I mean, I hear about it all the time. Is it more the MMO style funnels or more the health style funnels?
More the MMO style funnels.
Okay.
But there's two distinctly different schools of thought on financial. One of them is very biz-oppy, and they're slamming people into floors, meaning trading floors, where they basically, the funnel is designed to get you in for free or cheap on how to make money with stock trading or foreign exchange, because we want you to do your first deposit into our online trading floor of, $1,000. Then there's the other school of thought, which is kind of like what you're doing on the biz op side, which is the more genuine, it's going to be a $2,000 course on how to truly trade, and we don't really care which online trading floor you end up in, because that's not our business model. That's where we make our money. And those are more, those are more VSL, going to be more VSL driven probably. But I don't think, as much as I wanted to believe it, I don't think the differentiator is the medium. I think the differentiator is the copywriting.
How is it that every episode we talk about where copywriting comes up? That's awesome. It makes me happy. It makes me. It's the most important thing. And you know what's funny? Harris, you don't even know this, but I'm not going to reveal it, not yet, because all y'all go buy domain names around it. In your conversation today, so if you guys want to try to take guesses, you can while you're listening. Go back and listen again. You actually said the name of my next book.
Wow.
You said it today. You actually said it. You drew attention to it as well. And I almost...
Now I'm going to have to listen to my own podcast interview.
Try to figure out. Yeah, that's that. You'll see it, and when it comes out, you'll be like, I know I said that. So it's there.
Wait, how do I know that I didn't just give you the idea?
Oh, you couldn't, man. The book covers are already done. I got paper trail here. Okay, awesome. Let's move into round number 7, because I'm really excited, because I know that everyone listening is going to be asking this question. I know where I can go to find solo ad providers. I'm going to call Harris. Or I'm going to call some of the what'd you call it? A coopetition. Because I know them. I've been in the space. I'm blessed to have all great friends like yourself. But what about our listeners who want to do that first test with $500 or with $1,000, and they're in the gardening space or they're in the parenting space? How do you advise them to go out and find their first places to buy a solo ad?
Well, so I mentioned it earlier. If they're in the gardening and the parenting space, they need to, if they're on any lists, they need to contact those people and make an offer. And that might start with, some of the, I would Google, you better be darn familiar with your space if you're in it, but Google some of the top sites that are in your space. Go to, what's a good place? I don't know if Alexa's a good source anymore for what the top ones in every space is, but it's good enough. Quantcast and Alexa, just to get an idea. And
by the way, everyone who's listening, that's not Alexa like Amazon Alexa. It's Alexa.com. It's a website that ranks other websites. And then Quantcast. Those are really, really good resources. I wanted to draw attention to them. These are places you can find top websites in certain niches. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Harris.
No, you make me curious now. As soon as I get off, I'm going to go ask Alexa for the top website in parenting and see what she says. Anyway, so since you asked the question the way you did, that's what I would do. And a lot of bloggers have gotten key into the fact that having an email list is important. There's been a whole trend over the last couple of years of bloggers saying, oh, I should have an email list. So some of those guys will have it as well. But then there's also another way for you to advertise. There's multiple ways for you to advertise with top blogs in your space, right? If they have a list, the thing is that most of them have never marketed to them in the way that you're going to come to them and say, hey, can I give you money to send a promotion to your email list about my new website? But they'll write an article about you. They'll put a banner ad up. There's all sorts of ways of getting traffic from that person. Now going into probably what you're really asking, which is we may have mentioned it. There's a site called Udemy. I think it's UDIMI. It's a marketplace
UDEMY.
UD.
Oh, you're talking about
No,
UD.
no.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, UDIMI. Yeah, got it.
They have a lot of the markets that
You're
we've
MM.
already talked about, but
Yeah.
they have personal development. They have a little bit of health here and there, but they're very much buyer beware. But there is some good. There's definitely some good providers in there. What I always tell people is if you test 10 of those lists, one or two of them might be really good. 3 or 4 are going to be absolute crap, and the rest will be okay. You're not going to and by the way, that is why I didn't want Traffic for Me to be a hands-off marketplace, because I didn't want my name associated with that 50% or 10%, whatever it was, of it didn't go well for me, so I don't want to use Traffic for Me anymore. So we're in the mix, and even still, if someone look, I'm not going to pretend like nobody's ever not had a bad experience with that. It happens. If they communicate with us, we'll do whatever we can to make it right, because we vouch for our traffic. If they don't communicate with us, and I actually don't, I've actually Googled myself, our company, and I don't see I haven't found too much negative about us, which is shocking to be in business for 7 years and not have 3 pages of the traffic from them stunk. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been a handful or more of people that didn't have a good experience. But if you talk to us, we'll try to make it right. And
How many agencies would you say there are like yourself out there? We're going to talk about Traffic for Me at the end, because I love what you do. But are there, because when someone's starting, they can go to Google, Alexa, Quantcast, blogs, hit reply on the newsletter that they're getting, and kind of hustle it out. That's like the organic way of doing it. Then they get to a point where they're like, oh, it's working. I'm ready to scale. I want to go from 500 spend to 5,000 a week spend. Should they also then go to Google and type in solo ad agency or dedicated email agency? Are there a lot of them out there, or we're talking few?
There's a few.
There's a
few. So dedicated emails rather is that's the Littmans. I trust them. I actually worked with them for a year inside their company. They do what they say they're going to do. They don't put up with any nonsense, no shenanigans. Guys, I'm really hesitant on a couple of them. There's some that are.
Let's leave the hesitation out.
There's the thing is there's some there's a couple that are really well known, and they're going to come up top. And I know for a fact that they've squeezed in some bots here and there. So it's which normally I want
to call them out so bad now, but we won't do it.
I don't have enough proof to call them out. I just know. I put it that I would have called them out myself if I I have the proof, but not to a point where I'm willing to go public with it.
Got it. Well, if they're listening, Sal's coming for you. So
Sal, hey, forget about it. Sal's gonna come and get you.
Yeah, Dora the Explorer bat coming for you.
We have technology, whatever. We have anti-fraud technology, in our platform where we block bots. We say you only pay for traffic that's real. So I don't know if anybody else does that. The truth of the matter is, sadly, nobody seems to care. I thought it was going to be this huge differentiator for us. I mean, I used it for 2-3 years, strong marketing on it, and it did not move the needle at all. I mean, ultimately, it's like, really, at the end of the day, I spend $1,000. If I get 1,000 or more back, I'm happy with it. But we just could never feel good about doing it. So
sure. So really, if you're listening, go out there. You're gonna find a few by just asking, just by looking. And then from there, as you start to scale, if you're in a few of these spaces, I agree. I know the Littmans very well, dedicatedemails.com. They're great. I know Harris very well, trafficforme.com. You know what? If you're ready to scale, go there first. And, life has an interesting way of taking you down the right paths, and you will find the right people to help you scale. But again, now, if you're going to be in a very obscure space or niche, then remember, you're going to probably have to hustle it out yourself a little bit, because maybe there's not an established marketplace for it. You wanted to add something, Harris?
Yeah, I was just going to say a couple of companies worth mentioning that are kind of a direct to the source, but they're a huge source. Newsmax and Archamax. These are legitimate public, online publishers. They have, news related websites, and they have, permission based
The Newsmax is newsmax.com. And what was the other one?
Arca, ARCA Max. So they're a
RCA Max.
Yeah, so those are worth looking at depending on what market you're in. If you're for sure survival, financial, I hear that our stuff can work with them, but it's surprising that it does. But it doesn't make sense to me. So I just don't have an offer in BizOp myself to test. So it's worth. They're scalable. They're large and scalable, and they're definitely worth checking out.
So here's a question. Let's say I go out the way, I hit reply on a newsletter I'm on, and I say $250 to do a send for me, and they say sure. How often can I dip back into that pool? One offer. I just got one offer. Is it twice a month? Is it hey, do it once and then run from it for a few months? Like, give me some frequency data there.
Well, did you mail to the whole list the first time?
Yes.
Yeah. Probably, I think once a month is super safe. Twice a month is good. You want to communicate with the owner, and you can ask them. You can say how often, how fresh. I always say that the best part of the list is the fresh part of the list, right? So how much are they, rejuvenating their list every day? And they should be they should be getting new opt-ins every day. So what percentage of their 100,000 list, if they claim they have 100,000 lists and they're only adding 1,000 a month, yeah, you're hitting the same people a month later. But if they're getting, 10,000, 15,000, which is 10 to 20,000 is pretty common and correct. Then you could at least do every month, and you can test twice a month. And some people, remember the old rule of, showing people your offer 7 times or something like that. There is some truth to that. That if they see some repetition of your offer, the same people seeing it every other week, then that's okay. That can be okay. But what we say, we ask our list owner how many. This is what we do. We say how many because we run by visitors, right? How many visitors a week can you send to one offer? And if they say 10,000, we say, great. We tell the advertiser 5,000. We literally just, whatever they say, we cut it in half. And it's not because they're lying to you. It's just because they really just don't really know. And as a good rule of thumb, they know they're sending 10,000 a day. So they figure, okay, if I can send 10,000 to one offer a week, then it's probably okay. But the truth is about half that.
Got it. All right. Well, that's really helpful. Look at that, right? There, 2x a month was actually what we found as well when we were doing it pretty aggressively, was a good number. And if it was really hot and the ROI was huge, we'd go 3. All right, let's move into round number 8. I'm excited about this one. So round number 8, a solo ad. What's a good solo ad look like? Just a few bullet points, just a few little tips. I'm writing something. Let's say the person's allowing me to write it. Should I keep it short? Should I keep it long? Should I have images? Should I have lots of links? Tell me a little bit about that.
General rule of thumb, short. Again, we covered where they're mostly reading their emails. However, we've seen it all work. We've seen longer work. There was a trend for a while that's still. Agora still does it. They have images. They've got a little mini, I don't know, 250 word article with a couple of, I'll say clickbaity images in there. Just like the same type of stuff you might do to get attention on Facebook, right? If you're going to use an image, think that way. What am I going to do to get their attention? General rule of thumb, short to the point. As I have said for years, every piece of marketing has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. So what's the purpose of the subject line? To get them to open. What's the purpose of the email message? To get them to click. Now, can you, if you're doing CPM and you're okay getting a lower click-through rate, you can use your email, your solo ad, as you called it, to filter them and make sure you're only getting the right people to click. So, if you had $1,000 product, you could tell them that right in the message. You can, but you're going to get a whole bunch less clicks. So I say the purpose of an email, especially one that is a third party like that, is the purpose of the actual message is to get them to click and then let the sales letter do its job, or the VSL or whatever.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Awesome. You know what? I want to move right into the next question because this is something, the next round, actually, I'm going to go through it quickly because we're using up a lot of your time. This has been really powerful. And I'm going to drop another little hint in here for anyone's listening, want to go back and listen. It wasn't recent. I waited. Harris, you said the name of my book now twice. You said it twice in the episode. And don't try to go back just the last couple of minutes because I waited, all right? It wasn't in the last couple of minutes. That's the other hand I'll give you. It wasn't recent, but he said it twice. So he said it one more time after I brought it up. All right, let's move into round number 9. All right, so round number 9, I really want to ask you about what tools and software are needed to be able to properly track. So let's say I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a $50,000 ad spend with you. You're going to go out and you're going to buy, you're going to distribute that amongst multiple suppliers. And so when we were doing this on an individual level, I wanted to be able to track stuff. And so I went and coded a fresh platform for ad tracking myself so that I could do pixel-based tracking, kind of how Facebook has it. And it was awesome. And I still love it to death. But what happened is that URL, we must have bought ads from some dicey people. They sent out a bunch of emails. Next thing I know, Google hates it. Google stops emails from being delivered if that URL shows up. So we can't use it anymore. And I mean, they won't even let us run YouTube ads if that URL's pixel is on like 6 levels deep in our pages. So I'm just wondering now, if I come to you, I want to be able to track down to the source which ones worked. So I can give that information back to you. I don't even need to know who they are. I could just say source A, B, C, and you know which ones they are. How do we do that? Is there a good tracking and software tool out there to do that?
Sure. Well, first of all, my first gut instinct is, can you just change the domain name and reuse that software? Because it's something that you trust. So maybe you can do that. But I would still, I never trust just one anyway. As much as as confusing as it is to jump in there, it's free. It's Google Analytics. That's one that you can still use. But just super simple, straightforward, especially for this purpose. ClickMagick is probably the gold standard, especially when dealing with email ads, because most of the traffic that gets tracked with ClickMagick is email. And the reason I mention that is, this is a good example. So kind of like what you ran into, but in a different direction, right? Where your traffic looked like your tracking URL somehow ends up looking like it's a bad URL, a bad server, or whatever. So a lot of emails are, if they're coming off of a server, or if you're hitting somebody hard, if it's not a tracking service that's used to email traffic, they might identify some servers as being not fraudulent, but risky or what have you, whereas they're not. They're just servers that these email providers are using to send their traffic. So it's good to have one that's kind of email knowledgeable.
So ClickMagick, there was a point in time, and I actually have talked to the guys over there. There was a point in time when I had heard, because they were supplying to solo ad providers at such a volume, that they were having issues with email delivery with their URLs. But it sounds like that's not a problem anymore from you.
No, it's not a problem. I mean, I'd say, I was going to say more than half, but it's probably like 70% between our advertisers and our publishers. I mean, 90% of our publishers use ClickMagick. And probably 60-70% of our advertisers use it. It's simple, straightforward. There's other ones out there.
Tracking
I don't
down
know.
your funnel, like deep into your funnel. Do you know?
Yeah, they do now. They do funnel. Yeah, they do. When you said pixel based, I wasn't sure if
just
on
deep.
The front
Yeah,
page.
there's other ways to do it.
Yeah. I'm certain that they do. And again, I would still have Google Analytics to compare against, even though the numbers are going to be different. Don't ask me why. But don't ask anybody why the numbers should be any different. I've been doing this for so long, and it always blows me away that you could have two. Oh, another one that's good. I bet you haven't heard of this one. It's Clicky, just CLICKY. CKY. It's really good for tracking simple, affordable, straightforward. It's like whatever the opposite of something on steroids is. So it's like Google Analytics, not on steroids. It's really, it's kind of designed for for multiple campaign ad tracking. It's nothing that anybody ever hears about, but we use it and Google Analytics for our own campaigns, and
Awesome.
it gives you some good deep info as well. So.
All right. Well, listen, man, I want to move into the final round here because this one is about you. And I know that people are watching right now. You guys have been getting some tremendous knowledge here. Listen, if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, go ahead right now. Hit subscribe. Leave a comment below. Give Harris some love. He's been sharing some deep knowledge with us, years and years of knowledge, which I got to tell you, and I got all kinds of ideas. I'm going to run out of here. I'm going to do some math, and I'm going to start putting some stuff together, probably harass Harris after this too. But yeah, please click subscribe. Click the bell icon, leave us a comment, tell something to Harris. If you're on iTunes, come on, leave us a review, hit subscribe, do all of that stuff. But before we end here, we got a couple more quick fun things to do here. Let's move into round number 10, and we're going to talk about Harris and his service. So Harris, tell me about trafficforme.com. We got a lot of people watching and listening right now. They're getting interested. They want to play with solo ads or dedicated email broadcasts. I got to get better about that because that's a big paradigm shift for me right there. Tell me about how can people learn more and work with you, and what do they do?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say for anybody that didn't like this podcast on YouTube, hit the thumbs down button twice. Hit it twice. That's what you want to do. If you didn't like it, just hit it 2 times.
Got to hit twice or 4 times.
That's right. Two. Any even number. All right. Well, anyway, so at Traffic for Me, first of all, we kind of have we have a very different landing page. If you go to trafficforme.com, it's pretty much got 10 or 12 frequently asked questions that you can dive into before you even sign up. So it's got a lot of. That's how you find out more about us. It's everything that we've ever been asked is kind of right there on the front page. But a few things real quick. You're dealing with real people when you deal with us. Like I said, I didn't mention his name, but his name is Paul. He's our traffic director. We have a customer service team that you can talk to, not quite 24 hours, but around the clock for most of the time that most of you guys are awake. And we have a live chat for that. We stand behind our traffic. If something happens, you just tell us and we'll try to make it right. And what that means is we talk to the publisher and we say, hey, what the hell? And, sometimes they'll come back to us and they'll say, oh, well, they're offer, look at it. I'm like, no, you look at it before you have to look at it before you take the link. And, we've got relationships, so we don't have to worry too much about that anymore, but it does happen from here to there.
No, and that's a big thing in this space, to have that personal touch is huge. What about, are you active on any kind of social media, podcast, anything? Can people learn more from you? Anywhere they can go to stalk you a little bit more?
So me personally, actually, no. The truth is, sure, you can talk, people talk to me and you can hit me up on Facebook as Harris Fellman. That's my name and that's my Facebook. You can hit me up in Skype as Harris Fellman. You can find me on Twitter. I won't respond to a DM in Twitter. But Skype, yeah, I just, it's been a while. But I'm living the lifestyle that we all have talked about, which is having somebody else run my company for me. And we haven't mentioned it, but I live in Barcelona. I used to live in Costa Rica for a few years, and I've living my life. So I don't. That's not what I, Harris Feldman, do. Traffic for Me, we have we have a YouTube channel. We have really the best way to get info from us, though. We have Facebook. We have a Facebook page, but all I do on that Facebook page is put up testimonials, honestly. And you have to have a Facebook page to use Facebook advertising. We do retargeting and stuff like that on Facebook, but ultimately all roads lead to, we have a good customer service team. We have a great FAQ, both in front of the site and behind the site. You can ask me any question, sure. I'm generally going to answer it, take some honest time to answer it, and try to get you to talk to Paul.
So basically, if people have got some questions, they can just go to trafficforme.com and start engaging with live humans there, and they're not going to mind answering their questions about this stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Really awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's what I pay them for.
That's awesome. Listen, guys, we've covered a lot today. It's been so powerful. You probably want to go back and listen again. If you want to try to guess the name of the book, my next book that Harris dropped twice in this episode, I'll let you guess it. If you guess
drop their guess. They got to drop their guess in the YouTube.
No, not publicly, because then everyone's, okay, fine, drop it. But if you guys start buying a bunch of domains around it, I will send Sal looking for you because it irritates me. So first, let me go buy. Okay, you know what? Before we release this episode, I'm going to go buy a bunch of domains around it, and then I don't care if people find out. Anikpodcast.com, okay? Anikpodcast.com. Go there for your show notes because we dropped so much amazing information today. Get over there. Make sure you go to Lurn.com, Lurn.com. I don't know by the time you're listening to this, by the time we release this, we might be finally in beta. What do you know? We're brand new UI, brand new courses. Maybe one of these days when Harris stops just chilling out in his life, we can convince him to do a course for Learn Nation as well. So get over there, Lurn.com. It's a free membership. We got tons of amazing courses, some that are free, some that are like $5, some that are like $20. Come on, get in there, invest in yourself, level up your skills. Final round here, rapid fire. Can't let you go without this. You don't know these questions. I hope you don't. You shouldn't have been sent to them. Nope, it wasn't sent to you.
I'm scared now.
Actually, they're pretty easy, man.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, drum roll. All right, rapid fire round starts now. Question number 1. Lurn wants to build members. We just want members. We have tons of members. Solo ads, yes or no?
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, someone is just starting. They want to build an email list, and they don't want to mess around with Facebook and everything. Are you still in a good place saying, hey, just to get that first email list, solo ads? Yes.
Depends on the niche.
I love that answer. All right. I can tell you right now, if you're in the MMO space, it could be a little bit dicey, but this is why you got to have live humans like Harris and his team behind you. Question number 3, if you had to start from zero, what is the first thing you would do to build your business back up?
From zero, I mean, I would figure out an offer. Honestly, I mean, I know email so well. There's no way I'm going to stay away from it. So I'd figure out an offer that converts and get going with some solo ads. But I just know it too well.
Yeah, awesome, nice. Number 4, what's one crazy thing you've done in your life that most don't know about?
Crazy thing?
You've done crazy things, Harris.
Bungee jump, skydive. Which one? Which is crazier?
I want to know some crazy party animal type of thing. When you ran across the soccer field butt naked type of stuff.
Oh, well, I got a couple of those. So,
I knew it.
driving across the country when I moved from Florida to Los Angeles, when we were driving through Texas, there's a huge red sign that was pointing. It was a billboard, but it just said Harris. There's apparently a place called Harris, Texas. So I took the opportunity to, as you said, take off all my clothes, cover my stuff, took a picture. So basically, it looks like the sign is pointing, to naked Harris in the picture. And then when I went to Europe for the first time, I sent postcards to everybody, and I cut out the little naked Harris and I put it on all the postcards. How's that? So it's like naked Harris in front of the Eiffel Tower, in front of the Coliseum. It's pretty epic.
All right. You know what? That is the best answer so far to that question, Harris. So yes. All right. And then following that with a very serious question, what's the one thing you would tell yourself if you could go back in time 10 years?
Don't take your clothes off in front of a sign in Harris, Texas. No. What would I tell myself? Oh, probably. Oh, you know what? 10 years?
Yeah.
Buy $1,000 worth of crypto and sell it in November of 2018 or December.
End to that. Yes. All right. Man, that's a great answer. Thank you so much, Harris. It has been a powerful, powerful episode. And for you watching right now, one last time, leave a comment below. Try to guess the name of the book. Hit the little bell thingy. Hit subscribe. Go to Anik Podcast. Hit subscribe there. Find Harris Fellman. Learn more from him. Go to trafficforme.com. So many amazing things happening here. Go to Lurn.com. Sign up, because what you got today is just a little drop of what we offer to our entire Learn Nation community. This is Anik Singal. It's been a true honor. I will see you on the next episode of The Fighting Entrepreneur. And remember, when life pushes you, stand straight, smile, and push it the heck back. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to The Fighting Entrepreneur with your host, Anik Singal.